Hello everybody, welcome to Trackilicious, and we are getting set for round number 2 around Silverstone of the Wednesday Multi-Class Championship here at Trackilicious. Lovely hump day to have a good race in the middle of the week here. I am Kujaterikov. I will be the commentator for this evening. We had an exciting round number 1. Round number 2 looking to be even more exciting as we have a more complete grid. About 10 more cars than last time. We've got 27 in the session at the moment. Just waiting for the qualifying to get started, and we will get ourselves out on track and familiar with all of the drivers racing tonight around Silverstone in round number 2. Already a hydrate. Cheers to that. Good old tea. Keeping me company, keeping the throat nice and warm. Pretty cold today here, but nonetheless, we will get going here any second around Silverstone. Moriko's here. That's my guess. I hope I'm correct and I get a prize. And hopefully see many more of you. Hope everyone is doing well this evening on their Wednesday. Looking forward to enjoying some multi-class action in the GT3s and the GT4s this evening. Legendary track at Silverstone, about 2 hours outside of London. And let's head there now to get started with the qualifying session for this evening. We have 20 minutes on the clock. The first 10 minutes will be for the GT4s as we wait for them to roll out of the pit lane. Race winner from last week, Ilpo Ruotsalainen, looking to carry over that momentum into this week here.
And it's happened immediately. This is amazing.
One Bigley is flippin' amazing. Thank you, my friend, for that donation. Hope you're doing well, enjoying the racing tonight. And Ivy Schofield with the raid. Welcome, Raiders. Perfect timing as the qualifying session is getting going. Hope you guys had a good stream. And welcome to Trackilicious. If this is your first time here, we've got a 20-minute qualifying session. First 10 minutes for the GT4s, then the GT3s will be next. And after that, we have a 50-minute race with a mandatory pit stop in the middle. The 777 BMW of Brian DeSantiago going through the second sector before he starts his first flying lap of the session. Fairly long lap around Silverstone here, 18 corners, 3.6 miles of track for the drivers to work with. Racing in the dark as well, early hours of the morning or late hours of the night, however you want to put it, whatever 1 a.m. means to you. Adding another challenge to the field this evening. Difficult to see those exact brake markers. In the sister BMW is Andres Mostachero, the 105. After the two BMWs finished on the podium last week, joining Ilpo Ruotsalainen, I should say, on the podium in the GT4s. Welcome, Henriksen. Hope you're enjoying the stream so far. Just 2.5 minutes into the session. Soon we will get our first flying laps going. And round 2 will be officially underway. Hake Kwan in the number 10. Going through the infamous Meggetts and Beckett's complex. Drifting it out of Beckett's before going into Chapel Corner before starting onto the hangar straight. He's got the Camaro behind, looking to pick up a bit of a tow as they head to Stowe Corner. Very fast right-hand corner. Don't want to run too wide. Track limits come into play, and the Porsche handled it well there. Now into the Vale chicane, a little bit deep into the first part, but not deep enough to invalidate the lap, as that is the Camaro. That's the 665 looking to go through. And goes through, he does. Now into the tight right-hander at Village, into now the left-hander at Loop. Two basically 180-degree corners on each other before the quick left-hander exiting onto the Wellington Straight. Now just a few corners left for Tyler Asherle in the 665 V8 Racing Camaro. We've got some times on the board. Brian DeSantiago gets a 2:12.075, so that will be the time that this pack of cars behind will be chasing. The Camaro will be first, followed by the Aston of Diego Mostachero. Where will they go on the leaderboard? A 2:14 would have been the time, but it was not valid from Asherle, and so he does not get a time on the board. Moriko Yatanashi across the line in second behind Diego Mostachero. Then you've got Characola in fourth and Kwan in fifth place. Now, teammate of Moriko, Rally Duchy in the sister Ninetail Racing Ginetta, the 621 coming out of almost the final corner at Luffield before the flat-out right-hander at Woodcott. And to the line goes the 621. Lots of other times on the board. We will get to those once Rally Duchy crosses the line, but it is not a valid lap. And so Rally Duchy will have to go around once more. On top, you have Andres Mostachero in the BMW, and Ilpo taking pole. Provisional pole, I should say, a 2:10.002 from the 2:04 Camaro. Choosing to go a little bit later in the session, gets himself some clean air and a good clean lap, and finds himself in provisional pole. Behind him, you've got the two Mostacheros of Andres in the 105 BMW. Then you've got Diego in the 44. Moriko Yatanashi is in fourth. Sam Warden rounds out the top five. Then Brian DeSantiago approaching his second flying lap attempt. Can he improve from sixth place? Just in front of him is the number 18 of Justin Beachley, also looking to get on the board. No lap set from Beachley, and he goes to the front row to second, pushes DeSantiago to seventh as Brian improves his lap, but can't improve his position, about 12 thousandths off of the time set by Sam Warden in front. Number 9 Mercedes of Joe Characola in the top 10 in 8th. Needs about half a second to go past DeSantiago, but drifting wide at the final corner, surely invalidating the lap there for the Blackstone Racing Machine. And 8th will be the time on the, or the 8th will be the position for the number 9. Andres Mostachero to the line, looking for an improvement. Also needs about half a second. He gains a few tenths. Needs a couple more to get onto that front row and get past Justin Beachley in the number 18. Sam Warden improves back into the top 5, gets past Moriko Yatanashi. And that is all of the GT4 drivers now on the board. So Ilpo on top, a 2:09.9, improves his time. 2 minutes left for the GT4s to sort their grid order. As it stands, it's Ilpo on top, Justin Beachley behind him on the front row. Then you have Andres and Diego Mostachero, 3rd and 4th. Sam Warden 5th, Mayatanashi 6th. Brian DeSantiago in 7th as Andres runs wide at Stowe. Man, oh man, just a lot of invalidations here and there. Justin Beachley, can he improve onto the top spot? With Moriko Yatanashi in 6th, DeSantiago in 7th, Chericola in 8th, Noah Johnson 9th. Asherle rounds out the top 10. Jacob Church in 11th, Dr. Porkchop in the Alpine in 12th. And then you have Quan in 13th, Dutchy 14th, Thomas 15th, and Justin Beachley going to the top of the grid. A 209.835, just about a 10th clear of the time set by Ilpo Ruotsalainen, joining him on the front row. Time running out for the GT4s. Need to make sure they get their valid laps in here at the end. The 942 just inside the top 10 in 9th place. Exiting Aintree on to the Wellington Straight for the tricky complex at the end of the lap. First, the quick left-hander at Brooklands, lining himself up for the braking zone at Luffield, turning 180 degrees before exiting flat out. Cheers, Xander, for the hydrate. Can always use a little bit of tea here as Noah Johnson goes to the line and can't improve his time, but crucially crossing the line before the checkered flag for the GT4, so he is able to go around once more and try and get an improvement. And Ilpo gets a little bit of an improvement, gains about 0.02 of a second, but not enough to get past Justin Beachley, and that will be the qualifying session done for the 204. Just a couple of drivers left out on track to try and improve their times. Unfortunately for some, on an invalid lap. And one Bigley with the hydrate. Cheers, cheers. Where'd that lap from Beachley come from? You know, Justin always seems to find a little bit of pace here in the GT4s right when he needs it. So the 44 and the 942 Aston Martin, the two Astons out on track, remaining for the GT4s to set their grid order. Diego Mostachero currently in 4th. Can he get in front of Andres, or even onto the second or onto the front row as he goes to the line and can't improve his time? So 4th place will be the highest that the 44 Aston Martin will finish. Now going through the final corner, the 942 as the GT3 field begins to close in on Noah Johnson. Can he get an improvement up to the line? Needs half a second to get past the AMG in front. Needs about a second to get into the top 5. Where will he see himself? He goes ahead of Chericola up into 8th place. Hezi giving Moriko Yatanashi some energy here as the GT3 field begins their flying lap attempts. Devin Anthony first across the line in the 664 Porsche. Justin Beachley is OP how? No, he's OP now. And so now the 15 GT4 cars being set. It is now up to the remaining 12 GT3s in the final 7 minutes and 7 seconds of the qualifying session to get their grid order sorted. Where will the Porsche go as they get to the end of the lap? Race winner from last week, Sarah Liu in the 310 Lexus. Where will she end up on the grid? Will it be another dominating performance from the A2 Lexus? Or will there be a challenger here at Silverstone for Sarah Liu? Just a few cars behind Devin Anthony as they look to get their times on the board nice and early here in the session. So with just left field to go, final braking zone for the lap for the GT3 Lexus. Up in front, the GT3 Porsche of Devin Anthony goes to the line. What will be the time for the GT3s to chase? It is not a valid lap from our friend Devin Anthony, but Sarah Liu gets a valid lap on the board, a 158.515. Neil Kerbel in second. Dean Stefani then in third place with a 159.462. Then slides Joe Allenson in fourth. Then Jim Reynolds to sixth. Professor Chronotis goes up to fourth place. You've got Henriksen in the 543 BMW going to the line. How high will the Norwegian go? He goes to fifth place ahead of the sister BMW on the third row. Sarah Liu out in front with Neil Kerbel in second. It's an all Lexus front row for the time being. Then you've got Dean Stefani, Chronotis behind him in fourth, Henriksen fifth, Joe Allenson sixth, Jim Reynolds seventh, Brian Zerline in eighth place. Still waiting for four of our GT3 drivers to complete a valid lap. Eden Craig going out a little bit late. Chrono was in the GT4s last week. He made the switch over to the GT3s. Oh my goodness me, what happened there? We appear to have lost contact with Eden Craig. All right, the Mustang's back. No lights needed. Eden Craig confident around here. And to the line goes the Mustang up to ninth place. So now Devin Anthony back for a valid lap. Hopefully this time around he does get one on the board. Goes to eighth place. And now behind Sarah Liu looking for an improvement. But Neil Kerbel gets the big jump of 58.2 on the board. Sees him go up to provisional pole position. Notice to the line. No improvement here. Yeah, no lights here. I wonder if my server just kind of had an oopsie moment and everybody's lights are actually on. It's just not synced up to what it actually is in the broadcast. That definitely happens a few times, so we can still see the cars as they are out on track. So we'll make sure to get those calls right. Beluga going over the curbs at Brooklands, hopefully keeping the lap valid as the number 5 Porsche needs to get a time on the board to get ahead of the whole GT4 field. And no valid lap just yet. 2.5 minutes left in the session. Ah, I see. They came out with a night vision mod. Gotcha, gotcha. So that's what's going on behind the wheel here. Yeah, it seems like some of the GT3s have lights, some don't. As Sarah Liu and Neil Kerbel come to the line once more. No improvement here from either Lexus as they continue to battle for that top spot on the front row. Joe Allenson to the line in the number 62. Gets an improvement of his time, but still needs about 3/10 to get past Hendrickson to get a position in the top 5. Professor Chronotis gets a good lap on the board. Into the top 3 he goes, past Dean Stefani. Sam King now in 7th. Gets an improvement on the board, still needs about a 1/10.5 to get past the BMW of Joe Allenson in front. Jim Reynolds and Devin Anthony in the pits along with Eden Craig. So that is their qualifying session done for the GT3s there. The Green Light Racing 77 McLaren looking to take that 3rd place position back from the 42 Ferrari. Just a few corners left in the final sector. Sarah Liu not far behind there. Same with Neil Kerbel. Time ticking down to 0. This will be the last flying lap attempt for all of these drivers. First will be the McLaren of Stefani, the number 77. Where will he finish as he goes to the line? It's only going to be 4th as Sarah Liu goes to the top of 57.9. Sees her get past the sister Lexus of Neil Kerbel, who can't get an improvement on the final lap. Joe Allenson to the line and gets an improvement, gets into the top 5, past the sister BMW, who is looking for a response here. Sitting in 6th is Vegard Hendrickson. Now can he take 5th place back from Joe Allenson? Improves the time, but can't improve on the position. And that is the qualifying session complete for round number 2. And we're back to daylight. What a joy. We can see all of the lovely liveries out on track. And with the big grid, let's get started with the GT4 starting order. On pole, you have Justin Beachley in the number 18 Beach GT, getting a good lap in at the end of the qualifying session, able to get past the man who he shares the front row with, Ilpo Rutsalainen in the 204 Creme de la Course Camaro. The times between them were very, very close. A few hundredths of a second separated the two on the front row. Then it is an all Mostachero second row. Andres is in front in the North American Peruvian Sim Team, the 105 BMW, looking for another podium finish here tonight in round 2. But can Diego challenge him in the 44 Aston Martin? The Naps team looking to get the jump early, starting from 4th. Sam Warden in the number 7 Mighty Putty Racing Camaro starts in the top 5. He shares the 3rd row with Moriko Yatanashi in the Ninetail Racing 53 Ginetta. Next, you have Brian DeSantiago in 7th place. The 777 lines up appropriately there in 7th in the NPG Racing BMW. Alongside him is Noah Johnson on the 4th row in the 942 Chickadee Racing Aston Martin. Starting in 9th is Joe Chericola in the number 9. The number matches the position there for the Blackstone Racing AMG. Rounding out the top 10, you've got Tyler Asherle in the 665 V8 Racing Camaro. Another Camaro behind him, it's the 253 of Jacob Church in the one Bigley machine. Dr. Porkchop behind him in the lone Alpine, starts from 12th on the grid in the number 71 Chop Shop Racing. Pak Hae Kwan behind him in the number 10 Porsche, starts from 13th. Rally Dutchy in the sister Ninetail Racing 621 Janetta will start behind Kwan on, or excuse me, in 14th. Then you've got Hezzy Thomas, the Dog Box Racing livery, working tonight. The 59 starts from 15th on the GT3 field. And moving on to the GT3s, you've got Sarah Liu starting on pole position in the 310 Lexus, as she did last week, looking to keep the momentum going here in round number 2. It's an all Lexus front row with Neil Kerbel behind in the SimSense Syndicate 395. Professor Chronotis making the switch from GT4 to GT3, and it's paying off. He's in 3rd. In the number 42, oh, whoa, Ferrari. Sharing the second row with him is Dean Stefani in the Green Light Racing 77 McLaren. It's an all BMW 3rd row. Joe Allenson leads the way from 5th in the BMW M Team WRT Good Smile Racing number 62. Behind him in the 543 is Vegard Henriksen in the Raceforge Esports BMW. Sam King next from 7th in the 999 Nifty Motorsports Porsche. Jim Reynolds in the 313 Ferrari, in the BJ Racing 313 Ferrari, excuse me, starts from 8th. Devin Anthony in the 664 Porsche S&B Racing, starting from the 5th row in 9th. Brian Zerline starting from the pits in the 25 Ferrari, as Eden Craig will take the final top 10 position for the GT3s in the 787 Wicked Cat GT Mustang. Vladimir Beluga Racing Team number 5 Porsche, not able to get a valid lap on the board, will start behind the GT4s here for the start of the race. So as the field gets the formation lap going here, 3.6 miles to cover, 18 corners as they go down the Hamilton Straight, down the pit building used for the F1 events. Different pit box for these GT3s. GT4 Aston's being given some energy from Xander. As the grid gets set and we go through the 3rd sector of the formation lap. Round number 2 getting started here. 50-minute race up ahead. One pit stop in between. There is a 25-second mandatory refueling time, and then it is up to the drivers whether they want to take tires and add an additional 5 seconds to that pit stop time. So we will just have to wait and see what strategies play out and exactly when the drivers elect to take that mandatory pit stop here. Multiclass Wednesday, always super fun to watch. The overlap between the GT3s and the GT4s can always provide a bit of trouble one way or another. We'll just have to wait and see what happens here as the grid lines up in zipper formation. We will get started here with Sarah Liu leading the way in the GT3s. Justin Beachley leads from the GT4s. Can he get a good start ahead of Ilpo, who we know has fantastic pace as always? And which Lexus will come out in front after the first few corners here? The green light goes, and the race has started. Sarah Liu into the first corner, has the inside line, but it is side by side for the lead between Neil Kerbel and Sarah Liu. Who's going to have the lead after we exit Maggots and Beckett's? Neil Kerbel trying to hang out around the outside, has to cut the corner though, as he goes all the way through Maggots there and into Beckett's as they continue on to the hangar straight behind Andres Mostachero in the GT4 field, getting a little bit behind the leaders as Ilpo Ruotsalainen is lining up a move on Justin Beachley. Can he get the move for the lead of the GT4s? Just has to tuck in behind. Very difficult to keep the grip around the outside, especially on the opening lap as those tires are getting warmed up. Professor Chronotis with a deep dive down the inside. Can't quite pull it off. Didn't quite get the start he wanted as he found himself behind the two BMWs as Henriksen moves up a few places to 4th. Joe Allenson moving down a position to 6th. Chronotis, though, challenging that 4th place position. Up ahead, Sarah Liu does get the lead back. Looks like Neil Kerbel respecting the Verstappen Mexico line situation there and just giving that position back, so he tucks in behind the 310 Lexus. Diego Mostachero losing ground to Sam Warden in the number 7 as those two cars swap position on the start. But can Diego fight back and claim that position as they go into the braking zone of Brooklands? Not that heavy of a braking zone. Very difficult to get the move lined up unless you're already side by side exiting onto the straight. But Diego still fighting that position as he tries to hang a nose up the inside. Sam Warden covering off that opportunity in a heartbeat. This is what the back of the BMW is seeing. Hard charging, tennis ball colored Ferrari behind of Professor Chronotis, trying to get back into the podium positions. With Sarah Liu leading the way, then you've got Neil Kerbel. Dean Stefani moves up to that podium position with Professor Chronotis dropping back here, but still fighting back. Plenty of race to go still. And continuing their battle, but into the braking zone of the Vale chicane. It looks like the BMW is pretty comfortably ahead, but the Ferrari very confident on the brakes. BMW getting the power down very effectively, covering off the opportunity for the Ferrari to close in on the straights. Reynolds indeed pitting on lap 1. It might be the early undercut strategy here for the Ferrari. Ilpo Ruotsalainen continuing to challenge Justin Beachley for the lead, but not quite as close as they were before. Andres Mostachero falling back just a touch there. About 1.5 seconds is the gap back to the BMW in 3rd. He in turn has a 1.5 second lead over Sam Warden, up in 4th place, fighting with Diego Mostachero and Brian DeSantiago looking to get into the mix a little bit deep into the first braking zone at Village, but kept it all under control within track limits as he continues to try to chase down Diego for a top 5 position, as Diego fights for his 4th place back from Sam Warden. Brian's airline there out of position after starting from the pit lane, working his way through the GT4's very tricky corner to get by here. High speed through Copse as they approach Maggots and Beckett's. The Ferrari looking to get by on the outside. This is, of course, for position as he elects to just tuck back in behind. And unfortunately losing him a little bit of race time here behind these GT4s. But he in turn does have to respect the battle going on in front. And here we can see the speed comparison between the GT3 and the GT4 on board with Brian Zerline going down the hammer straight as they approach Stowe Corner. As Diego Mosachero tried to hang a nose up the inside, trying to take advantage of the Ferrari that was going through, but not able to do so on that occasion. Cheers for following, Racins. Hope you're doing well. Hey, and you are the 2,800th follower. You have made us achieve our follower goal. Cheers to that. And welcome to Trackilicious. Hope you're enjoying the stream so far. That's Brian DeSantiago going down the inside of Diego Mosachero, and he gets a top 5 position ahead of the Aston Martin in the GT4s. Moriko Yatanashi in the Ginetta looking to fight back, or fight with the 2 cars in front, I should say, for position. Brian DeSantiago a little bit deep in the braking zone. Moriko Yatanashi does have Joe Chericola behind for pressure. This is a great 4-car battle here, developing from 4th to 8th place. Or 5-car battle, I should say. Meanwhile, for the lead of the GT4s, a little bit up the road, Brian Zerline now trying to work his way through the 2 leaders. And once again, just having to tuck in behind at Maggots and Beckett's before the GT3 can easily sweep through on the straights. So Ilpo Ruotsalainen not quite close enough into the braking zone at Stowe to get the move done. But as he approaches on the exit, can he shape up the move into the Vale chicane? But the AMG of Justin Beachley getting a good enough exit to cover off that opportunity. The Camaro, though, breathing closer and closer to the back end of Justin Beachley, applying a tremendous amount of pressure. Trying to get through for the lead of the GT4s, cutting through Copse Corner. Or excuse me, that's not Copse Corner. I got myself lost. That was Abbey. And now as they go through the loop, another good opportunity coming up for the Camaro up to Brooklands. But it just doesn't look like he's close enough yet. Justin Beachley doing a great job defending from the Camaro behind. Ilpo seeming to get great entry speed into the corner, but just can't keep the momentum going, with Justin Beachley having his car right on the outside line. Let's check in with the GT3s, the 2 Porsches battling. Devin Anthony versus Sam King, the 999 up ahead of the 664, but not for long. That's a move to the inside of Stowe, the 664. Great move. Last minute dive bomb to the inside advances Devin Anthony to 7th place. This is what the lead looks like for Sarah Liu out in front of the 395. Neil Kerbel still within a second, applying good amount of pressure to the race leader. Neil Kerbel also has the fastest lap of the race, showing he's got some good race pace behind in the 3.95. And can he use it to get close to the bumper of Sarah Liu? Getting close is one thing, overtaking is completely another thing. Lots of opportunities, though, around this Silverstone track. Sarah Liu dipping a wheel into the gravel, not helping the exit speed. Not a lot of straightaway, though, here for that to hurt a whole lot as they start race lap number 6. The 2.53 of Jacob Church goes into the pits about 10 minutes into the race for the early mandatory pit stop. On board with Professor Chronotis, still hanging on to the bumper of Henriksen, but can't get close enough for an overtaking opportunity, losing those positions at the start and can't quite get them back in the early going of the race. Still 40 minutes left. Plenty of time for the Ferrari to claw back those 2 places and end up on the podium. The top 2 of the GT4s getting closer and closer. And as they go through Chapel onto the Hangar Straight, once again, Justin Beachley has a good enough advantage in front of Ilpo Ruotsalainen to cover off the overtake into Stowe. Oh, and I missed the hydrate from Trackilicious themselves. Cheers to that. As Ilpo continues the chase for Justin Beachley, just hanging on to the bumper, waiting for any opportunity to come his way. It is kind of the same all the way up and down the field. Professor Chronotis looking at the back of this BMW specifically, since after the first lap there's a bit of a wiggle on the exit from the 5.43. But continuing on here down the Hangar Straight, the Ferrari seems to have a good advantage going into the Vale chicane, but it just can't make up the time in the corners beforehand to get close enough for that late move to the inside. Sam Warden comes into the pits from 4th place in the GT4s. He was out in front of a big 4 or 5 car train, and so he pits early. Will this trigger the other GT4s to come in and serve their mandatory pit stop? So that will release Brian DeSantiago up into 4th. Then you've got Joe Chericola, who got ahead of Moriko Yatanashi. Diego Mostachero, unfortunately, dropping back behind the pair of them, as he has drifted back about 7 seconds behind Moriko. Oh my goodness me, we've got 2 drivers Sarah Liu and Neil Kerbel sharing the fastest lap of the race. Now that is quite a unique situation. You don't really see that too often. But both Sarah Liu and Neil Kerbel with that purple number next to their name, indicating that they both share the fastest lap. And still here, Henriksen defending very well from the 42 behind. Meanwhile, these two trying to make up about 4 seconds to get to Dean Stefani, who sits on that final podium position in the 77 McLaren. Ilpo still can't quite get alongside Justin Beachley to line up the overtake. Very tricky to follow the cars closely through Maggots and Beckett's, but he needs to do just that if he wants to line up a move into Stowe. Not quite close enough, but perhaps getting a better exit here into the Vale chicane. We did see a drive-through get picked up by the number 59. That's Hezzy Thomas in the KTM for track limits, I do believe. So certainly something to consider for these drivers as we have not even hit 20 minutes into the race. Very fast right and left-hander at Abbey and then Farm, excuse me, as they head to the braking zone of the tight left-hander of the loop. And once again, Justin Beachley very confidently out in front. So despite these two staying very close to each other, and that is no longer the case as the 204 looks to get the undercut and goes into the pit lane. So that will alleviate a bit of pressure from Justin Beachley, who can go and race his own race pace for the time being. But now is it time for him to consider coming into the pits to cover off that undercut attempt from Ruotsalainen. Diego Mostachero coming into the pits as well in the number 44 Aston Martin as he looks to get the car serviced after dropping from 4th place on the grid behind Moriko Yatanashi before coming into the pit lane here. It looks like the GT4 and GT3 overlap has caused a bit of drama here as Henriksen is on the back of the 77 McLaren for that final podium position. Can the BMW fight Stefani down the hangar straight into Stowe? They go. The McLaren having to cover off the inside line. Can the BMW find the grip around the outside to hang it there? As, and a bit of oversteer, both of them cutting through the track there, hopefully not picking up any sort of track limits as they continue their battle. Professor Chronotis also getting involved in the mix as this 2-car battle for 4th and 5th has turned into a 3-car battle for a fight for that last podium position. order remains the same as they now exit the loop. Is what it looks like from the back of the McLaren, holding on to that final podium position here. Three different cars here battling for position. McLaren versus BMW versus Ferrari. And Professor Chronotis has seen enough of the back of the BMW. He goes into the pits to try and get the undercut done on both the McLaren and the BMW. Very cautious, exiting Copse Corner. The BMW looking to have a move through Meggetts and Beckett's. Very tricky high-speed complex for these two to go side by side as they approach some GT4 cars as well. That's Rally Dutchy in the 621 Ginetta. And once again, the 77 having to cover off the inside. The BMW trying to get the over-under, but the BMW just parking it on the apex, or excuse me, the McLaren just parking it on the apex, not allowing the BMW to go through. And they are absolutely nose to tail heading through the Vale chicane, exiting to club as they approach the two-car battle in front of Joe Chericola and Brian DeSantiago. GT4 battle versus GT3, and Henriksen very late into the corner having to cut through and allows Stefani a little bit of breathing room out in front. But as these two approach the battling GT4s, and that has opened up the gap between Stefani and Henriksen, as well as between Brian DeSantiago there in the purple 777 BMW and Joe Chericola in the number 9 AMG. And Henriksen goes into the pits, as does Stefani. Out in front now, it is a pit lane battle, and will we see the same strategies come in from all of the drivers as well? Sarah Liu and Neil Kerbel separated by about 2.5 seconds now as they make their way through the GT4 field. Perhaps just a little bit more unfortunate for Neil Kerbel, losing a bit of time to Sarah Liu in front after 11 racing laps have been completed. So where will Chronotis end up? Will he be able to get the undercut on Stefani and Henriksen? He goes down the main straight. The 77 comes out of the pits. He gets ahead of the BMW, who's still in the pit lane going slowly. And there is the 77 McLaren of Stefani, maintains position ahead of Professor Chronotis. And there in the background is Henriksen exiting the pits. Slightly slower stop for Henriksen sees him drop back by about 3 seconds to Professor Chronotis. Make that 4.5 seconds. It's just a little bit unlucky there. The two Lexuses, Lexis come in from the lead, Sarah Liu and Neil Kerbel. Now it's a battle between the two Lexus pit crews, and the number 10 gets a drive-through for speeding in the pit lane. That's Pak Hae Kwan in the number 10 Porsche, sitting in 13th in the GT4 field. Sarah Liu still in the pits. And there is the car getting dropped off of the air jacks and rolling, as does Neil Kerbel. And Sarah Liu will remain out in front of the 395. Oh, and there might have been a little bit of contact there right as we tune into the battle between Stefani and Chronotis. I couldn't quite tell if there was contact between the two or whether the 90 or the 77 was already on its way around. Nonetheless, Chronotis gets the position out in front of the 77, who in fact drops back behind the 543 BMW of Henriksen. And the 105, that's Mostachero in third of the GT4s. He gets a stop-go 30 for speeding in the pits. So the GT4 podium is up for grabs. There's a 4-car battle going on before the pit stops between Sam Warden, Diego Mostachero, Brian DeSantiago, Joe Chericola, and Moriko Yatanashi, just to name a few of them. And now Henriksen all over the back of Professor Chronotis. The GT3 and GT4 podiums still up for grabs. Ferrari covering off the inside, going to the inside of the 105 BMW. For GT4 as the 105 not helping the sister GT3 car in the field as they continue their battle. Ilpo Ruotsalainen using the clean air and gets the undercut done on Justin Beachley as these two head into Brooklands. Justin Beachley behind Ilpo Ruotsalainen. And so that's the 204 Camaro in the lead of the GT4s. Can Justin Beachley find a way past? Still about 22 minutes remain in the race. The number 5, that's Beluga, gets a drive-through for track limits. Brian DeSantiago and Joe Chericola in the pits. The 777 BMW battling with lots of cars before the pit stop. Let's see where the 777 ends up. Alongside Yatanashi, gets ahead now, and the 777 gets a stop-go 30 for speeding in the pit lane. So Joe Chericola gets behind Sam Warden, but ahead of DeSantiago, who needs to serve that stop-go 30, as does Andres Mostachero. So the two GT4 BMWs both getting stop-go 30s after their podium finishes last week. So after Rally Dutchy comes into the pits, Sam Warden will inherit that final podium position for the GT4s. Brian DeSantiago gets around Joe Chericola, but does have that penalty to his name, so the AMG isn't too worried about that position. And Joe Chericola goes to the inside of the braking zone at Village. Can the 777 fight back? But knowing he has that penalty, probably won't fight it too hard. After the 777 does need to come into the pits and get that penalty cleared. Sam King in the pits in the 999 Porsche, one of the last few GT3 drivers yet to complete a pit stop. still waiting for Devin Anthony in the lead in the 664 Porsche to serve that mandatory pit stop. And the 999 gets a stop go 30. That's Sam King, after just serving the pit stop, gets the stop go 30. Lots of drivers getting caught out by the pit lane here. Justin Beachley now, after being in front of Ilpo for the first 15 or so minutes of the race, it's about 10 minutes of running without traffic behind. Oh, and there was contact, it looks like, between Henriksen and Stefani. That will allow the 62 of Joe Allenson to move up into the top 5 as these two approach that carnage that just ensued now with the 777 Brian DeSantiago clearing his stop go 30. Justin Beachley will look to take advantage here with the BMW of Henriksen going down the inside of Brooklands. So now Devin Anthony in the pits, Sarah Liu back in the lead in the 310 Lexus, Neil Kerbel in second, about a 3-second gap between the two Lexuses out in front. Then you have about 23 seconds to Professor Chronotis in the number 42 back in the podium positions. Then you have Joe Allenson up next in 4th place. And Devin Anthony exits the pits ahead of Henriksen. So that is now 5th for the 664. Henriksen looking to fight and get that position back, though, for a top 5 finish in the 543 BMW. 664 running a little bit deep, having to take the defensive line on the exit. That's the number 10 of Paquet Kwan coming into the mix, and that is the GT3 and GT4 overlap we were talking about, and now getting in the way of the BMW, so no way through for Henriksen unless he hangs it around the outside of Farm and gets the move done before the braking zone of Village and into the loop. He's gonna have the inside. Can he hang on to the place as they exit Aintree and go on to the Wellington Straight? And it looks like the BMW has the speed to hold off the Porsche. Great move from Henriksen, able to hang it around the outside of the high-speed left-hander of Farm and ahead of the Porsche before the braking zone. Can Justin Beachley replicate a move like that? Needs to get by Ilpo to get the lead back that he had from the start of the race. 16 minutes left in the race. Lots of time for Beachley to get the move set up, but not all the time in the world. As the AMG and the 204 approach Stowe with some traffic on the inside. That's the number 10 Porsche, making it a little bit difficult for the 204 and the 18 to get through. into the Vale chicane. Justin Beachley nose to tail with the Camaro in front, but just can't find a way past. These two very evenly matched on pace here. Up in front, it is side by side between Devin Anthony and Dean Stefani for 6th place. The 77 McLaren looking to get the slipstream down the Wellington Straight. Will he send a move to the inside of Brooklands? The Porsche just lingering to the inside, but opening up enough space for the 77 to go alongside. But crucially, the Porsche having the inside for the next corner. The 77, though, from 7th, looking to advance, getting the wide line and the speed momentum through the corner, but not enough of a straight into the high-speed corner at Copse for the McLaren to take advantage, pushing Devin Anthony wide, not literally, metaphorically, with the pressure being applied behind, as the 77 looking to stay close through Maggots and Beckett's into Stowe. One of the better overtaking opportunities, but it looks like the Porsche has that opportunity covered off unless the McLaren presents a great amount of straight line speed here. The KTM of Hezi Thomas sticking to the inside there. As that battle continues, the GT4 battle for the final podium position is heating up between Sam Warden and Joe Chericola. Brian's Airline in the 25 Ferrari and the GT3 still yet to make a pit stop, as is Tyler Asherle in the 665 Camaro in the GT4s. But AMG versus Camaro for the final podium place. Will Joe Chericola send it down the inside of Stowe? Not quite alongside enough for that move just yet. Oh, and battling with the 77, Devin Anthony facing the wrong way at Brooklands. Brian's Airline going through, but still yet to make a pit stop in the number 25 Ferrari. As Dean Stefani gets 6th place from the 664. Joe Chericola looking to get 3rd from the Camaro out in front. Right on board with the AMG driver and see what he sees as they go down the Wellington Straight. And not quite an opportunity opening up here for the AMG to stick a nose up the inside get that position from Sam Warden. And right as we say, Brian's Airline and Asherle both in the pits. And that is the whole field done with their pit stops. Sarah Liu approaching this battle in the 310 Lexus. As she makes her way down the hangar straight with a healthy 3.5 second lead over Neil Kerbel, who now is the sole possessor of the fastest lap of the race. And so Sam Warden trying to let the GT3s through. He doesn't want to inadvertently let Joe Chericola through as well for position. That's the 313 Ferrari of Jim Reynolds and Neil Kerbel in the Lexus, trying to work their way through the 313 Ferrari down the inside, forcing the number 7 to go a little bit of a long way around. But the Mighty Putty Racing Camaro maintains the position ahead of the AMG behind. Two separate Camaros defending from AMGs just up the road by about 30 seconds. Just up the road, I should say. Ilpo Ruotsalainen in the sister 204 Camaro defending from the number 18 AMG of Justin Beachley as these two approach Stowe. And once again, so evenly matched between these two. Very difficult for Justin Beachley to get a move lined up with Ilpo driving so consistently. That's Justin Beachley, no! Hitting the curb, jumping the AMG, and oh, that's a significant amount of front end damage to Justin Beachley's car as he was going through Abbey and just taking a bit too much curb on the inside, bouncing the car, couldn't quite control it. But crucially for him, he does have a pretty healthy advantage over Sam Warden behind. So if he feels confident enough to drive with this damage, he should be able to retain a podium position here. My goodness me. You hate to see it indeed, Xander. So we'll just have to wait and see what Justin Beachley decides to do. And it looks like he will go around out on track, does not want to come into the pits and sacrifice the time lost. So Joe Chericola, pretty clean fight now all the way to the end with Sam Warden. Not a lot of GT3s approaching behind this battling duo. And so can Joe Chericola fight his way past Sam Warden onto a podium position? And of course, we don't know what Justin Beachley is dealing with in the number 18 AMG in front, exactly how much damage he has. And so can these two just keep it clean and out on track? Or will Justin Beachley have a Hamilton moment where his tire degraded and had to bring it home with the fast charging Red Bull behind, not able to get the position? Similar situation here for Justin Beachley, just trying to limp the car home in the final 6 minutes of the race. Noah Johnson getting close to Tyler Asherle in the 665. That's very strange. I can assure you Tyler Asherle did come into the pits. Not sure why his pit stop wasn't served. That's Noah Johnson going to the inside of Stowe. Surprising the Camaro and surprising me up here. Great move from the 942. Yeah, you're right, Xander. P2 does seem to be the curse. Alex Freeman last week riding in P2 all race long. and having to, or not having to, just sustaining a bit of damage and dropping back. That was a great move from Noah Johnson in the Aston Martin past the Camaro. And yeah, not sure why Tyler Asherle still has that 1 next to his name. It does look like he did come into the pits, according to all of the data I have available to me, but hey, what do I know? So Justin Beachley happy to continue on in the number 18. Has now 22 seconds to Sam Warden in 3rd place here, battling with Joe Chericola. I believe that was Professor Chronotis slicing and dicing his way through these GT4s as he holds on to that final podium place in the GT3s. And now Tyler Asherle in the pits in the 665. This is what the back of Sam Warden's car is seeing. That big grill of the AMG approaching in the distance. But it's just not close enough into the braking zone of Brooklands to get that move lined up. And through Luffield, the AMG trying to sneak its nose up the inside. But Sam Warden covers off that opportunity. Final few laps now for Joe Chericola to try and fight his way past Sam Warden and get that 3rd place and get the bronze medal, drifting it through Maggots and carrying a lot of speed as the AMG fighting to stay close with the Camaro down the hangar straight. To Stowe Corner they go. And once again, Sam Warden covers off the AMG behind in the straight. Just doesn't allow the AMG to get close. Getting the exits just right when he needs to. And so Joe Allenson working his way through these two now. Leader on the final lap, Brian DeSantiago challenging Dr. Porkchop in the Alpine in these closing laps for position after he had to serve a stop-go 30 for speeding in the pit lane. Looking to get that position from the Alpine in front. This will be his last lap to try and do so, with Sarah Liu on her final lap of the race behind. Will surely get past these two before the end of the lap. I'm sure Brian would have loved another lap to try and challenge Dr. Porkchop here, but can he do it in the remaining few sectors that he has left? Sarah Liu goes through the pair of them. The Alpine not known for its straight line speed. Brian DeSantiago forced to go the long way around. Can't quite pull the grip around the outside of the Alpine, and this is where the Alpine should be super nimble through these tight corners in the infield section. Xanderzone giving Porkchop some energy to defend the position from Brian DeSantiago out in front, but it's Sarah Liu with another win here as she goes through Luffield and exits through Woodcott, and to the line goes the number 310 Lexus to take win 2 out of 2 for the season, and that's the race win. Congrats to Sarah. Neil Kerbel behind, trying to push the 777 BMW past Dr. Porkchop, but the Doctor in the Alpine will stay ahead of the BMW. Neil Kerbel takes second place, and it will be Ilpo Ruotsalainen on top of the GT4s. As he takes the checkered flag, it will be win 2 of 2 for the number 204 Camaro as well. Justin Beachley, sustaining the heavy front end damage to his car, will end up in second place behind Professor Chronotis, who takes third in the GT3s on the podium for the Professor in his maiden outing here. Joe Chericola goes through Sam Warden and gets the final podium position at the final braking zone of the lap, and he goes through the Camaro, and he will take third place in the GT4s. Great stuff there from the AMG. Sam Warden, congrats on fourth. Marco Yatanashi to the line to take fifth place in the GT4s. Andres Mostachero in the 105 after serving the drive-through. Good recovery up to sixth after starting from third on the grid. So good pace from Andres to keep the car rolling here. Vladimir Beluga across the line, and Noah Johnson here in the 942 takes the checkered flag as we wait for, last but not least, Jacob Church in the one Bigley 253 Camaro coming up to the line to finish out round number 2. Congrats to everybody finishing. Sarah Liu first, Neil Kerbel second, Professor Chronotis third, Joe Allenson fourth, Dean Stefani fifth, Devin Anthony sixth, Jim Reynolds seventh, Brian Zerline in eighth, Sam King ninth, Ilpo Ruotsalainen first of the GT4s, then Justin Beachley, then Joe Chericola, Sam Warden fourth, Mariko Yatsunashi fifth, Mostachero in sixth. Then you have Noah Johnson seventh, Dr. Porkchop in eighth, defended from Brian DeSantiago in ninth, and that is as far as we can get on the grid. As always, we'd love to invite our lovely podium sitters to the green room for a quick chat of how your guys' race went on. Cheers one Bigley for the hydrate. Here, you can even see me do it. Cheers. All right, let's start with the GT4s. Justin Beachley is here. Let's bring him in. Hello, Justin. How are you doing tonight, my friend?
Not as good as I was about 10-15 minutes ago.
You know, that's fair. That's fair. I can completely understand why, but hey, on the bright side, you were able to maintain that second place with a good gap that you built behind throughout the rest of the race.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised. Like I think I was 4 seconds off my pace, and I was like, "There's no way I'm not gonna, get passed by third or even more." But I guess that's just the gap that Ilpo and I had. But
yeah, there were a couple of penalties for speeding in the pits behind too, so they were kind of drifted back a little bit and it was just a tight battle really all the way from 4th to 8th place throughout, so they were getting caught up amongst themselves in the battling. But still, fun to see you battle with Ilpo for the beginning and the closing of the race there. Just didn't quite play out in the pit stops as you would have hoped there.
Yeah, I think if I had cleaner laps, I probably would have been ahead of him, which would have made a huge difference. Mm-hmm. We were pretty close as it was. I had a little bit of traffic issues and then just had like an error or two in the laps after he pit. So, I think that was probably the difference. And then, after that, it was all about like pushing and trying to keep up, and obviously, didn't quite work out, but.
Yeah, not quite this evening, but yeah, you guys were just so evenly matched. Even in qualifying, I think it was like 600ths that separated your 2 laps. And so yeah, just very evenly matched on race pace all race long. It really could have gone either way there. But Ilpo, you got to give him credit. Just absolutely consistent out there and just doesn't give in to any sort of pressure behind.
No, not at all. I mean, he's so good in that Camaro. Like, it's... I think last season when he joined partway through, it was like, okay, is he going to win the rest of the races? And then, I had to make like a Verstappen like pass on him at Valencia just to make sure I got ahead of him and passed him. So, it was, it's going to be a fun season if he participates the whole time. If we're going to have battles like that the whole time, I think he said before, like, the schedule aren't his strongest tracks, but we'll see. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Like, his weakness is still like right above most other people. So, definitely looking forward to it. It was a great race up until the error, but it was there was a good chance I was going to finish second anyway. It was going to be very hard to get by him, even if I like had a chance to. He wasn't making mistakes. And even when he was, it was like he was still pretty quick. So, a great race all around. It was a lot of fun, even with the incident. So, you know what? I'll take it. P2 to start off my campaign. It's can't really ask for much more than that.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Yeah, you missed the first race, but yeah, back here on the podium in your inaugural. That's a fun word to say wrong all the time. But yeah, so congrats on that podium finish. We will... Oh my goodness, what is happening here to my computer? There we go. All right, we're back. Discord was lagging out for a second. Okay, thank you, Justin, for joining us. Congrats on P2. And hopefully we will see you back on the podium next time.
Yep, I hope so too. Thank you.
Now we'll chat with our 2 leading Lexus drivers. Sorry to bring you guys in mid-conversation. We've got Neil and Sarah joining us from the front of the GT3s. Welcome in. How's it going?
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, it was a really great race.
Yeah, you guys super close in the qualifying session, and at one point you both had an equal fastest lap of the race, but then Neil, you took that away after the pit stops. But the gap a little bit opened up there after the pit stops. You 2 very close on track for that first part, and then it looked like a bit of traffic kind of opened up that gap between you 2.
Yeah, I think Sarah rolled really high on the GT4 back marker traffic. Like, every time like I saw her pass him on a straight, and I'm like, damn it, I'm going to catch him in a corner.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was also like, I have so much pressure, like, when I encounter the GT4 traffic, especially on this track. I mean, Silverstone, like in Sector 1 and Sector 3, they're all like really hard to overtake GT4s. Like, they only have like one fastest racing line, and if you really want to overtake, and you have to take the worst line, and you have to sacrifice so much speed, and then it's it was hard. Like, you're making decisions every corners, and it's really hard. But on the like at first stint it was really hard because I think Neil has a faster pace than me, and on the second stint I did a really perfect pit stop. I was really taking all my bets on that, and I really made it for the perfect pit stop. And yeah, then I got less pressure, and I was just using the GT4 traffic to try to slow him down. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you do it sometimes. That's the multi-class. That's kind of how multi-class rolls, you know. Sometimes it gives and sometimes it takes. Today it went your way, Sarah. Neil, hopefully next week you'll get that win.
Yeah, I barely had the pace, but I did not have the traffic go my direction. So,
well, that's just how
it was fun.
It goes sometimes. Yeah, super fun to watch you guys battle for it. Really, like, yeah, it's always so intriguing with the traffic. Just it really can go either way. And so, yeah, super excited to see you two battle it out for the remaining of the season. Is there any track in particular on the calendar that either of you are looking forward to racing at?
It is.
You want to go first, Sarah?
I'm really looking forward to race with Neil. Yeah, for the rest of season, I think it will be really much interesting to compete with someone that has similar pace with you in the league, and I think that's a very good chance for both of us to gain more knowledge of Lexus. Yeah, not a popular choice, so it's cool to see that you two both ended up choosing it.
Yeah, I definitely have a lot to learn from Sarah. I am the rookie to her pro in the Lexus.
Yep, that's fair. Lots to learn still, but yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Looking forward to Indianapolis. That's one of my favorite tracks. So
yeah, that should be fun. I've been super surprised at how good the racing has been there through the multiple Trackilicious series that we've had. So yeah, I'm also really looking forward to that one and all of the other tracks. It's a super fun calendar in both the rookies and here in the multi-class season.
Yeah, and Bathurst as a ending track is always a good choice.
Oh, heck yeah.
The track definitely gives takes away.
Oh, it sure does.
I couldn't imagine a way to overtake GT4s.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what happens come the end of the season. And
thanks for streaming, Kuzia.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys for joining us. Good luck in the rest of the season. We'll have to wait and see how the Lexus battle treats us for the remainder of the rounds. I'll move you guys back here to the green room. Thank you to both Neil and Sarah, as well as Justin Beachley. And Eric's got a raid for us. Thank you, sir. Let's get that going after we get through the calendar. So we've got some changes coming to the LMU seasons up ahead. Stay up to date in the Discord with all of that information. Then Thursdays, iRacing League. Fridays, the LMU, like I said, that switch will be happening. And then we've got the 6 hours and 66 minutes of Silverstone coming up on November the 15th. So get your team registered on SimGrid for that and any of the other championships. GT4 rookies on Mondays. And then next week here, we will be back at Indianapolis. Thank you to all of the new followers, all of the donations, all the subs, and all of that good stuff. We really appreciate you guys being here. We couldn't do without your guys' support and all of the drivers out on track as well. Yes, check out the shop. Shirts, caps, says Trackilicious. All sorts of colors available and all sorts of sizes. All sorts of stuff, fun shirts and boxers available on those links below. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for our lovely racers for providing the great action out on track to you, our lovely viewers. I have been Kuja Terekov. Thank you for joining us. Have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you may be watching us from. We will catch you next time. Stick around for the raid of Grizzly. See you guys next time.